Hey, what's going on everyone? In this video, I'm doing a review of the Hisense Sero 7 Pro tablet. Keep in mind that Hisense has released two tablets at the same time. One is the Sero 7, which is a $99 model with like dual core and lower end specs. I'm reviewing the Hisense Sero 7 Pro, which is $150, and it comes with a quad-core processor, basic upgraded specs, which I'll be listing for you guys in this video review. But one very important thing to keep in mind is that this tablet, the Pro version and the regular Sero 7, are exclusive to Walmart in America, unfortunately. Now, don't be surprised if both tablets show up on eBay or Amazon in the very near future. One more thing I need to mention is if you guys want to see like some camera samples, some gaming demo videos done with this tablet, and hopefully I think I found a rooting method for this device as well on ClockworkMod recovery. I'll have separate videos and I'll have those links in the description below and in some annotation links at the ending of this video. So the dimensions of the tablet are 199.8 by 125.8 by 10.8 millimeters. I had to weigh it myself and it weighs 371 grams. The screen itself is a 7-inch IPS capacitive touchscreen with a resolution of 1280 by 800, which basically translates it to being roughly 720p HD. As for PPI, there's no official PPI listing, so I don't want to touch base on that and give you incorrect information. It's just not available anywhere on the internet. Even Hisense hasn't released it. In fact, they don't even mention if there's any scratch-resistant glass. I'm sure there is, but I just don't know which type, because again, it's not listed anywhere. As for RAM, there's 1 gig internal, obviously, and the processor itself is a NVIDIA Tegra 3 quad-core processor running at 1.3 gigahertz. As for the GPU, again, Hisense has not released any information about it, but it must be running off the Tegra 3 somehow because, it is an NVIDIA chip. There is a rear camera, which to me is kind of useless on a tablet, but it's there. It's 5 megapixels and it records at 720p HD at 30 frames per second, and there's a front-facing camera right over here, which is 2 megapixels and it records at 480p at 30 frames per second. The battery itself is 4,000 milliamps, non-removable. You can't remove the back. And unfortunately, again, there's no information as to what type of technology the battery is. Is it Li-ion or something else? It's unknown. All people know is that it's 4,000 milliamps. As for connectivity, you have the usual GPS Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is able to connect to 802.11 ABGN. There's of course Bluetooth. And yes, there is a mini HDMI port at the top. I'll get into that later on. And of course, there is an NFC chip inside on the bottom half of the tablet. As for storage, there's 8 gigs internal. However, fortunately, there is a micro SD card slot which supports up to 32 gigs expandable memory. The system itself is running Android 4.2.1, stock Android at that, which is awesome. As for future updates, if Hisense will be updating the firmware when Google releases new updates, it's unknown. Okay, so let's look around the physical design. You can see the screen clearly. The bezel is quite large. It's quite thick. I'm not surprised because it's a very budgeted tablet, but the bezel is quite large. At the bottom, you have nothing. On the left, you have nothing. No dock connectors at all anywhere on the tablet. At the top, you have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. You can use it for headphones, plug it to an auxiliary in the stereo system. I believe this is the microphone right here. The micro SD card slot has this kind of large flap for some reason. It's quite large, even though if a tiny micro SD card will fit in there, but hey, it's there. The micro USB port to charge the tablet or plug it into computer transfer files. You have a mini HDMI port at the top. Over on the right side, you have the power button, volume rocker buttons. At the back, you have dual speakers right here. I know the grills here are really tiny, but believe me, the sound is pretty awesome that comes out of this. Front-facing cam with a flash. I've almost forgot to mention that's the rear camera with flash. That's the front-facing camera. It is running stock Android, so you get the very generic. You can add more widgets, or it can slide to just straight to the camera itself. You have the usual Google Now and stuff like that. And you'll notice that the physical buttons, there are none. They're on the screen like Nexus devices. But there's a dedicated screenshot button here. There, I just took a screenshot. Now, unfortunately, there's no LED notification light. Some people might not mind, some people might want that. I personally prefer to have it, but yeah, there's no LED notification light on the device. As for screen clarity, it's 720p, and this video you guys are watching on YouTube is 1080p, but I'll just tell you now that YouTube does degrade the quality. Even just because it's 1080p, it'll still degrade the quality. The screen clarity is pretty good. You can tell that definitely it is an HD screen. It's still one of those things you have to see in person. Despite the screen being 720p and you're watching these videos in 1080, you have to see it in person. These are some extremely high resolution pictures I've taken. They're like 2560 by 1600. But yeah, they give you the full potential that the screen can output. And it's pretty darn clear. Okay, so for the volume test, what I've done is, the speakers are on the back. The volume is on maximum right now. I'm just going to play a regular clip from my YouTube channel. There's no music, there's no action noises, and you guys can get an idea of how loud the speakers are. So maximum volume, play it, and speakers are facing down. Good. So a lot of people might be curious as to what's the difference, because, they're off by like one model, basically, but they look identical. So that's exactly what we're doing in this video. Okay, I'm about 30 feet away with the speakers facing down. Let me see if you guys can hear it. See, I said to make this video about 45 minutes long. If you want the exact details, I don't know if you guys heard that. With my own ears, I can hear every single word from my own YouTube channel crystal clear with my ears. It's like someone's actually kind of loud and, down the hallway. So the speakers on this thing, despite the grill being really tiny, two small speaker grills, this thing packs a lot of volume. I'm really surprised. But with that said, let's continue on with the review. Some people have been complaining that they get faulty units, where the back, if you press into it, kind of makes like a cracking noise. Some people have said that, the screen kind of feels flimsy on the side. I haven't run into any of those problems. This thing's extremely sturdy. Like, I don't know, maybe those people are getting faulty units. I don't know if you guys can see this, like this texture pattern here. It kind of feels like a plastic rubbery material. And not only that, the edges on each side are curved. So it makes this tablet really, really comfortable to hold in one hand. Now it comes with, the stock Android keyboard. It is stock Android after all. And you get this kind of typewriter sounds when you're typing. Hello. Your backspace gives you another sound. So it sounds like a typewriter's typing out. It's pretty nice. Okay, so what I've done now is run some benchmark tests. Personally, I do not like benchmark tests at all. To me, they mean nothing. They're just a bunch of numbers. I rather use general performances, like, playing a high intensive graphic game, seeing how it runs. To me, that's how I judge if a mobile device is fast or not. But some people are obsessed with benchmark testing. So here's the result on Quadrant Benchmark Score app. As you can see, I got 4135, which is lower than the HTC One X. Now that shouldn't be too much of a surprise, considering there's a Tegra 3 processor in here, which is about a year old now. Not bad, but again, I don't trust benchmark tests, but I'm going to do one more for you guys. Okay, so on this benchmark score, what I use is N10 benchmarking, and you'll see that this tablet got 11,845. To give you a rough idea of more recent technology, I guess you could say, I reviewed the Sony Xperia ZL phone just like about 2 months ago. I'll put a link to that video in the description below as well, way at the bottom. Anyway, that scored about 20,280 something like that. And that has a processor, I think it's a Snapdragon S4 Pro quad-core processor. So you can kind of tell the difference. Yeah, there's a huge difference between more recent technology and the technology in this tablet, which is from last year. But again, I don't trust benchmark scores. To me, they mean nothing. Gaming experience, I would like to demonstrate a game for you guys, but it would make this video way too long, so I'm not going to. If you want to see, I'm going to demonstrate a whole bunch of high graphic games like Need for Speed Most Wanted, stuff like that, in a separate video. But generally speaking, when I tested some video games like Need for Speed Most Wanted, for example, that's a very high intensity graphic game, I noticed just some little stutter. Nothing that would ruin your gaming performance, like, make you crash your car or lose a race, or pretty much, ruin your gaming experience for that matter. But there's some slight, just sluggishness, just slightly. Games that are slightly lower in graphics, like Dead Trigger, run amazingly smooth. There's like no lag at all. Now, as mentioned, this comes with stock Android. However, there's some alterations. It came with some pre-installed apps. Don't worry, it's not as bad as you think. It came with like the Walmart app, Sam's Club app, Voodoo app. Those are all companies owned by Walmart. But here's the strange thing. I experimented and I was able to uninstall the Walmart app. You notice that Walmart is not there. I was able to uninstall it. Same with Sam's Club. You'll notice it's not there. You can just pause the video if you want. However, oddly enough, Walmart also owns Voodoo, but Voodoo cannot be uninstalled. Pretty weird, huh? You would think that out of all the apps they would want to keep is Walmart. Okay, so I'm on the BBC UK website, the desktop version, not the mobile version. Just to give you an idea of how, smooth or laggy it may run, in your point of view. I have pinched to zoom in quite a bit, and it seems really responsive. It doesn't seem to lag. Sometimes when you go too fast and you're zoomed in this much on a high intensive website with a lot of detail, you'll get this checkered mark at the back. But the tablet is able to keep up with me, just pinching and zooming and just flying all around the page with ease. No problem at all. As for the camera quality, okay, I always say that a rear camera on a tablet is useless. But it's present. The quality on the rear camera and the front camera are horrible. They're both terrible. As for battery life, okay, battery life for this tablet, what I did is I had it on for about 24 hours before it reached 10%. So in 24 hours, I reached about 10%. And the most usage I had on that was about 4 hours of watching video. So I had drained about 90% of the battery with 4 hours of watching the video in about 24 hours. So if I had to break this tablet down into its final rating, I would give it a 4 out of a 5. And here are the pros. The pros of the tablet is, first off, it's amazing price. It's outstanding. If Hisense can expand in a global market and continue to deliver products like this at this price, other mobile manufacturers better be scared. The screen is, 720p HD, last year's technology, but it's still pretty good. It's HD quality. With the price, you can't complain. It has a micro SD card slot. I know that's kind of strange that I mentioned it, but considering that the Nexus 7, for example, which this tablet is compared to a lot, Nexus devices don't come with the SD card slot for some bizarre reason. And yes, I will make a separate video of this tablet compared to the Nexus 7. That link will be in the description below as well. Another bonus is that you get a mini HDMI port, so you can plug this in directly to your TV, and whatever's here will show up on your TV directly. You have decent gaming performance. It has a quad-core processor from NVIDIA, so you can get exclusive NVIDIA games, but other games in general run pretty decently on this tablet. It comes with stock Android. There's no, gibberish, any other nonsense blocking your way or obstructing your true Android experience. The UI in general is quite responsive. For such a budgeted tablet, it does what I want pretty quickly. As you saw with the browser test and stuff, it does a pretty good job of keeping up with me. And of course, you can check out my gaming demo video and you'll get a better idea what this tablet can do when it's pushed at its maximum performance. And lastly, of course, the tablet itself is very comfortable to hold. I love the backing on this thing, and you have curved edges, so holding your hand feels very natural and comfortable. There are some cons, of course. There is little internal storage, only 8 gigs. Sure, you have expandable memory with a micro SD card slot, but 8 gigs internal memory is still a problem. It's not a lot. The battery itself is not very long lasting. As mentioned, 24 hours from 100% to 10%. I used about 4 hours of video playback, so the speaker's on, the screen's on, but that's okay for a tablet. It's not great. So if you plan to travel on a plane and you have a 6 or 7 hour flight, charging this thing's gonna be a problem because it won't last you the full duration if you plan to watch videos. The bezel of the tablet is quite thick. You'll notice that the screen, the body is a lot thicker, whereas the screen is a lot smaller. There's only 1 gigabyte of RAM. Now that might not be a big deal to some people, but it is to me, mainly because it makes it less future-proof for Android updates. So say Android, what are we on, 4.2? So let's say in a year 5.0 releases and Google's like, well, the minimum requirement to run it is 2 gigs of RAM. This won't do it. There's no LED notification light. I would like to have had one. And lastly, the front-facing cam is horrendous quality. Again, they should have got rid of the rear cam and invested more in the front-facing cam for decent video chatting quality. The position of the front-facing cam is not a con or plus because it's still at top of the tablet, and honestly, it's pretty easy to, use and see. If you just want a tablet or something on a budget, definitely get this tablet. Unfortunately, it's only available in America, Walmart, but, hopefully Hisense will make more products like this and release it globally. But this is a solid tablet at this price, and yes, it will give the Nexus 7 a run for its money. If you found this video useful, check out my website in the description below. Hit the like button, it does help. Subscribe, and thanks for watching.